The recent series of Kenobi is just finished, and I think it's fair to say that this series is another on the pile of Disney's Star Wars failures. Heavy plot contrivances, hollow unforgettable characters, questionable directing and editing, and being a detriment to the original trilogy due to the contradictory and retconning story. And I think the most obvious example of this, the epitome of the writing within this series, is how the story handles the character of Reva. Now Reva is an original character introduced in this series to the Star Wars franchise. She is not attached to any other storylines or characters and has only appeared in one crucial event that happens within the Star Wars canon. She is a blank slate, an endless canvas for the writers to introduce new and fresh aspects into the franchise. Instead, they decided to do nothing with her for the first 4 episodes, and then rushed her character so hard, her character arc became a convoluted, confusing mess. When we are introduced to her, she is shown as a rash, impatient child, wanting to prove herself and stand out amongst her peers, giving hints that she wants to be noticed by her superiors and gain some stature, showing a lust for power. This description of her will not change for the next 4 episodes. The only difference, being that at the end of episode 2, she goes from wanting the Grand Inquisitor's attention to wanting Darth Vader's attention. So for the next 4 hours, we barely see any progress or change in her character, which is a massive problem considering that she receives quite a bit of screen time towards her. In fact, I think she receives just about as much screen time throughout this series as Obi-Wan does. And let me tell you, when you have such a stagnant character taking up so much screen time, you really feel the episodes drag. But then, the writers did something I wasn't expecting. They made an interesting premise. In episode 5, she reveals her true motives to both Kenobi and the audience.
They were the only family I knew. And he slaughtered them.
You're not serving him, are you? You're hunting him.
She isn't greedy, she doesn't have a lust for power. She never wanted to become an Inquisitor, but she had to. She had to force herself into becoming a Sith apprentice because she wants revenge. During Order 66, she lost everyone she ever loved and cared about. Her entire life fell apart in front of her, and she was powerless to stop it. And so she turned to the dark side, did all these horrible things, and all of it was for the singular purpose of avenging her family against the person who took them from her, Anakin Skywalker, now known as Darth Vader. Similar to Anakin, Reva gave herself to the dark side because of her loved ones. But while Anakin would continue to fall into the dark side for selfish reasons to the detriment of others, Reva has joined for the purpose that, ultimately, is for the greater good of the galaxy. This is why she is so desperate to get Obi-Wan. If she tried to fight Vader by herself, even if she caught him off guard, he is so connected to the Force that she doesn't stand a chance against him. But if he's close to Obi-Wan, if he becomes so angry and clouded by vengeance he cannot think straight, perhaps she stands a chance of completing her mission. Killing Vader, avenging her family, and gaining justice for the Jedi that died during Order 66. She is a bad person and has done horrible deeds, but she has done it for what can arguably be seen as a good reason and a good end goal. And so in episode 5, she finally enacts her plan, fails, and is left for dead. We have gone through 4 episodes of pure static until episode 5, where we have rushed through her entire character arc up until this point. Not exactly peak writing, there should have been scenes with her in the episodes prior hinting at her true motives and alliances, but at least we have a understandable character arc. That was until episode 6. So now that we've had a easy to understand arc, let's see how the writers mess it up. At the end of episode 5, Riva is lying wounded on the ground and sees the damaged messaging device that Obi-Wan had on the ground. She reaches it, and the dumb message from Bail Organa starts to play, talking about how Owen will look after the child on Tatooine. Reva arrives on Tatooine and decides to try and kill this boy. Now remember, at this point she doesn't know that Luke is related to Vader.
If he's found you, if he's learned of the children, if I don't hear from you soon, I'll head to Tatooine. Owen will need help with the boy.
She knows that Vader might have an interest in him should he discover Luke, but that's it. For all she knows, this is possibly just another Force-sensitive child because she doesn't know Luke's name. And her first instinct is to try and kill him. Now her arc has just lost all of its momentum, not because I know Luke will survive because of I've seen the show and I've seen the films, but because I know she isn't going to kill him when she gets the chance. Because this isn't part of her character. She's already established that dead, innocent children are the reason she's doing this in the first place. We know she won't be able to do this, but the final episode drags this out of place arc throughout this entire last episode as if I'm supposed to care about it. And you know what the worst part about this is? In this very same episode, we have what would have been a very decent conclusion if it had gone directly from her last scene in episode 5 to here. Obi-Wan arrives back on Tatooine and finds Riva, who has lost all that she fought to gain and is now confused and directionless. He encourages her to let go of her past and find a new, more fulfilling path.
You haven't failed them by showing mercy. You have given them peace. You have honored them. Who you become now. It is up to you.
And they part, with her leaving her lightsaber behind and finally coming to terms with her past. This is a nice, somber, character-filled moment that would have been a nice capping off point for her character. Instead, we have to acknowledge the fact that she's just spent the past 30 minutes being completely out of character and nonsensical, and all of the development she went through has gone from an arc into a massive scribble across the page. If you need a clear example of the troubles with this series, look at this character and you'll understand completely the amount of effort that went into writing this series, because it is not a lot. But yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed it. Check out some of the other videos I've got. I mostly do reviews and media analysis, but there's a couple of funny moments and gameplay videos, stuff like that. And yeah, hopefully I will see you soon in the next video.